Hello artists, Mrs. Castle here, and we're going to learn a little bit about watercolor. In this video, we are going to learn about a very important thing in watercolor, which is a wash. And it is the most basic kind of thing that you're going to do when you paint with watercolor. And you'll see about that in a minute. On the tray that you have at your table, there will probably be a couple of these little trays with wells in them. There will be a bucket for water. You're going to fill it up, and I can't tilt it to show you, but you really don't need to fill it up any more than halfway, which is, there's a line on the side, even just a quarter of the way where the little textured area up to that part. That's really all you need, especially for this part of what we're doing. There should be 3 brushes, because there will be about, if your table is full, you'll have 2 or 3 people at your table. And there's a little watercolor set. And it doesn't have the case on it because the cases are really dirty and gross anymore, and students like to close them, and that makes the watercolors really gloppy for the next day, and we need them to dry out. So we have the rainbow from red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. I left in the brown, and this color down on the end is magenta for most people. Some watercolor sets have blue and turquoise in them. Either you have turquoise or magenta in your set. And your sets will likely get moved around during the day, so it's okay. It'll all work out in the end. Once we get to actually our big painting or our final painting, we'll make sure you have the colors that you need. So with a wash, I'm going to draw a few boxes. And I'm going to paint a couple of circles and some organic shapes that are not geometric. Geometric, organic. So draw a little blob, and then you can practice painting more organic shapes. Okay, now I know this seems kind of silly, but I am going to put some water . I'm going to put 7 drops of water in one of the wells, and I'm going to get some color. I'm going to start with red. I will explain why this is important for a wash. Especially if you choose watercolor for your final painting, because it'll just make a difference, and we'll talk more about that later. So I'm going to get color and kind of rinse my brush in the well with the water in it. And all you do is wiggle your brush around, and that saturates the brush with the color. And then I'm putting it into the water that's in the well by rinsing it off. And I'm going to check to see how bright it is, and that's pretty good. Let's do one more. I really, really, really do not recommend painting directly from the watercolor set, because that is that's going to make things difficult later. I'm going to put mine back on the tray so I have enough room to work and demonstrate what we're going to do. So the key to a wash and having it look good is to make enough color, and this is way more than enough. I put 7 drops in there, and then I got color and kept rinsing it in there. So I really didn't lose any water. So I'm going to get some color on my brush, and I'm going to tap off the extra. And I'm going to use just the tip of my brush. And I'm going to, see, I'm just putting the tip of the brush on the paper. And I'm kind of outlining first. I'm not pressing down very hard. Watercolor is not strenuous. It's not difficult in that way. It is a little bit tricky keeping track or just kind of getting a feel for how much water is on your brush. And if you do it well, if you want to paint wet paint on dry paper, when you do that, it shouldn't drip. Now, if we would wet the paper first and then put wet paint on it, then we do want it to run around, and then you wouldn't necessarily want to tilt it around very much. You might, if you wanted to do sky and let it put blue at the top and let it run down, but for at first, we're not going to do that kind of thing. So, okay, that's a basic wash. So, I want you to practice that like 4 times. So let's review. I'm going to put some drops of water. Let's do 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm just touching the brush to the top edge of the well, and the water drips down in there. Let's do green this time. I'm just wiggling my brush around to get color until it gets all in the brush. And you can kind of see it in there. And then I'm going to rinse it. And then I'm going to get some more until it gets to be as dark as I need it to be, or as saturated as I need it to be. That's kind of light, so I'm going to add some more green. Because if you have a dish of paint, you really don't want to, and you rinse your brush and you use a different puddle of paint, you really don't want to rinse your brush and stick it in an old color or in a new color, because you're changing how much color is in there. But you'll see. Okay, that's a little bit better. This green is kind of transparent, so I'm going to get some color on my brush. I'm going to touch off the excess on the side, and I like to outline first. I'm going to get some more color and fill in. And there are places where the green is kind of darker. It'll kind of even out like this did. And that's a nice, perfectly even wash. And that's what we want. A perfectly even wash when it's dry. Okay. All right. That's it for the wash. So practice that 4 times on your practice piece of paper, and then you'll do the next thing. So don't use up your whole paper with the wash, with the plain solid wash. Leave some room for some other things. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.